Well, the
Okay,
Portuguese Grand Prix, boys, I was so excited. I was genuinely so excited for a number of reasons. Like the track itself with the elevation changes, like it's a really cool track. And
I totally forgot like the level of elevation too, because
it's nuts.
it's crazy. It's just like up and down, and like I totally forgot until like I watched the first clip from the weekend, and I was just like, man, there's so much more elevation than you remember.
Dude,
Up and down like a roller coaster.
Yeah, definitely.
I know, and that's the announcers. They were literally saying that. Like there was that one dip. I can't remember which turn it was. Like halfway through the race or halfway through the track, that just like really would just like suck your stomach up because you came up the hill and then you shot back down.
Totally.
And that would be so. It would be cool. It would be like unreal to feel. It would also be crazy to see how that continues to feel like over 66 laps.
Yeah,
That would be
it's probably just exhausting because like you see Lewis Hamilton when he gets out of the car, you can just see he's just like aching. Like that force for that period of time is just probably way too much.
Man, absolutely. And I mean, overall, so it's like, yeah, I was so stoked for this race. And it was one of those anticlimactic races that was just pretty average. You know, it's one of those races that you would be happy to just like watch the highlights, you know,
Totally.
in a sense. You know, like I had a few people like,
sure.
oh man, I missed it, but like saw the highlights. And I'm like, oh, that's probably the good thing, you know?
It's a little sleepy at times. Absolutely.
Yeah. Before we hopped on, Mitch and I were just saying like it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse too. And I think you just look back at the few races that we've had this season already, and they've been so exciting, like a rain race and just like competitive the whole time. Qualifying's competitive, and then this weekend, I thought the whole weekend was kind of weird. Like the pace in qualifying was just like up and down and inconsistent, and no one improved their times in Q3, like, and which is pretty wild. Like I feel like that typically always happens, and like Mercedes were faster on the medium tires, Red Bull was faster on the soft tires. Like
That was crazy.
It was
like
odd. Yeah,
going into Q3 and seeing that the Mercedes were like loading up the medium tires for their last lap because they felt like their car was just better and had more grip and more speed on those tires than the softs, which doesn't happen very much in a season.
No,
yeah, it was incredible the amount of laps that Sergio Perez put in on his softs.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Dude, I can't believe he made it that far.
Wasn't it like 52 laps? It was like something ridiculous, or like 48 or 46
totally,
laps.
Like talk about tire management, man.
Yeah, Lance Stroll's too, but like he was on, I think, the soft cap compound to start the race, and he didn't pit until like 30, 40 laps through the race.
Yeah,
wild. Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, it didn't really work out for either of them.
Yeah, no. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, Hamilton takes the win on this one, the third Grand Prix. It's one of those things that it's like it's so tough to dislike this guy, but for some reason, I just do in a sense, and it's just because he keeps winning, you know.
Totally.
But
the thing that always gets me is he like looks off the pace, then like out of nowhere just finds pace in the car.
Yeah.
And then gets the lead and is like, guys, tires are shot.
First thing
he says, tires are shot. Just made pass for the first. And then he just checks out. He's gone.
Yeah, tires are shot as he's building a 5-second gap, a 10-second gap, a 20-second gap.
It's wild. And I think he's known for saying that. And they did like mention the tires. I think it was just a weird weekend for tires and compounds because I feel like they would like disintegrate and then like you would almost get like a new tire. It seemed like they would come back to life after a little bit. So that's probably what he was dealing with. But yeah, it sucks, man.
A little second wind, like a runner's, what is that called with runners? Like
like a runner's high.
A runner's high, yeah. A tire high.
The tires are just like, we got it.
Okay, let's take a step back to qualifying. What was your guys's like takeouts from that overall? Highs and lows.
I was pretty happy with the Ferrari qualifying for the most part. I mean, like Charles could have done better, but Sainz, I think he was where was he? P4, P5?
Yeah, I'm just trying to
something like that. So he's on like the third row, I guess. So he did really good qualifying. And like the first two races, Ferrari did pretty well. They're competing. They're kind of trying to push the top two teams, but they're very competitive in that midfield. So is a decent qualifying for Ferrari, and then that didn't quite translate into the race, but you win some, you lose some.
I think for me, I mean, I don't want to talk about Daniel Ricciardo. I'm not making a Q3, but that sucks. And like being like a full second and like a half off Lando Norris, I think that was just kind of like a big shock to everyone. He just like didn't have the qualifying pace. Ended up having like a decent race. But the other thing too was you look at Max's lap in Q2.
Yeah.
And that would have been pole position. Or in that qualifying, he would have been at the top of Q2, but he just left the track limits. So that, and he left the track limits trying to save himself from crashing. So
totally.
The pace is obviously still there, which is great.
100%. I know you mentioned Danny Rick there. It was for sure disappointing to see him.
Sad.
What was it? P16, man. That's like,
yeah. He just like got bumped out by Carlos, I think.
Kimi,
yeah, damn,
dude, Kimi bumped him out, and the Alphas actually had they're seeming kind of strong, except for the fact that Kimi goes out in the first corner. Or like, what happened? Like his little crash, he like took out.
He was playing with one of the dials, like he was trying to fix something on his steering wheel.
Oh shit!
Changing his mode or whatever he was trying to do, and just didn't look up in time.
Runs into the back of his teammate.
And that's like not what you want.
He's like the most experienced driver on the grid too. It's just like, it was just funny.
Which is pretty crazy, because it really goes to show that even the most experienced drivers can struggle with like changing your engine mode or whatever you need to do on your steering wheel, changing your dial or pushing a button. There's so many crazy things on those steering wheels that I don't think a lot of like casual fans notice.
Oh, for sure. Not even close. Yeah. And just the fact, it's just how quickly things are happening, like it's a 1/10 of a second, and he loses that little bit of concentration,
and he's in the back of the
and you're out of the race. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was nice. Speaking of vets, it was nice to see Sebastian Vettel getting into Q1 for the first time in
a long time.
I mean, he qualified P10, which is at the back of Q1, but nonetheless, still nice to see. Seems like he's getting a little bit comfortable on like the speed anyway. But they don't seem to have like that race pace at the moment to like, gun for points, which is one thing that they're really going to want to work on quickly here.
It's kind of shocking too, because they had a very like pretty strong season last year, and just for them to just like flip the regulations haven't really changed that much. It just seems like they're struggling a lot more than everyone kind of expected them to, because you expected them to be competing with McLaren and Ferrari kind of every race, and they're like not even close to that right now.
I know. I was expecting the constructors battle like for that third and fourth place to be a lot tighter, but it's looking like Renault actually, sorry, not Renault, Alpine just got a few important points to kind of, that was confident boosting for their team. They were pretty fired up for Ocon, and then also for Alonso to have a really good race. And that's the thing. It was one of those races where there was guys that were making passes, and some good racing went down, but it was just like, it just felt like this 65 or 66 laps just like dragged on. I don't know. It was strange.
No, I agree. I think like a big takeaway from the weekend is like the Alpine's pace, and Alonso and Ocon. They look like Alonso looked great, and some of the passes he was making were like really fun to watch. And for them to both finish in the points, I think is awesome, because I don't know if either of them have finished in the points this year. I don't think Alonso has. Ocon might have, but
I know that was definitely their best. Their best weekend. Race. Yeah. Best weekend so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Fernando was saying he was angry from his poor qualification, and it was a pretty poor qualification. And he definitely made up for it during the race, but he raced with all that anger, supposedly.
Classic. Yeah. Gladiator Alonso channels anger into impressive recovery.
Because when he started on the grid, like 13th or 14th?
Yeah, it was 13th. Yeah.
Yeah. And then finished 8th, I think, or 9th.
finished 8th. It was a 7-8
Nice.
finish for Alpine.
Yeah, that's awesome from like a team perspective. That's great for them.
I know. I wonder how Danny Rick is feeling, man, because he went on in the second half of last season to like score some good points for Renault and like and get a couple podiums, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see him on his first 3 races at McLaren, it's disappointing so far.
Yeah, and I think it's. I was listening to the F1 walkthrough at the beginning of the weekend, and they were just talking about like these drivers that have switched teams, and like you look at Carlos, he kind of looks like he's gotten pretty comfortable with the car, but then like Vettel was struggling, and you got Ricardo struggling, and it's almost like you might need to unlearn some things to relearn how to drive that car, because it's pretty wild. It seems like he just hasn't come to grips with like the qualifying or race pace really for Lando to be. I think he's been top 5 every weekend.
Dude, shows like Lando is scoring points. Isn't he ahead in the?
He's 3rd in the constructors.
Yeah, he's ahead of Bottas, isn't he?
Yeah. It's awesome. It shows you that the car is fast enough. It just something's obviously just not clicking with Daniel and it right now. So I hope it hopefully sooner than later comes to grips with it.
Yeah, it will. And like, let's just take a second on Lando now that we mentioned him.
Mm-hmm.
The kid's just on fire at the moment. You know, it's like what, third? Is this his 3rd season in the McLaren car?
Yep. Yeah, I believe so.
So 3 years in, and he's feeling good and he's looking confident.
He's feeling good. He's confident. He's fast too. Like you can usually tell when a driver is fast or not, whether they're in a good car or a bad car. But he's been really, really quick to start this season. And even last season, he had some really good performances.
Totally.
And now going back to the last race of last season, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So it's 5 top 5 finishes. Sorry, 4 in a row, not 5.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
But he's finished in the top 5, 4 races in a row. So that's great for Lando and for McLaren.
Definitely. I think like confidence for him is probably massive. Like it's his 3rd year in the car, and he knows that he's quick and the car is great, and so it seems like just everything's coming together for them right at the right time.
Yeah, now we just need Danny Rick to step in and step up, and I'm confident he will. You know, I am confident that he's the type of driver that he's battling right now internally. You know,
for sure. Oh yeah. You can just see it in his face after that qualifying session. He was just so disappointed.
Yeah, that he doesn't belong in the bottom in like the bottom 15.
No, that's for sure. No chance, man. No, he should be top 10. Like he could even be top 5.
Yeah, and what's nice is that they're able to, you know, bounce back quickly this weekend in Barcelona, which is, you gotta love the back-to-back weeks.
Yeah,
you know, you gotta love the back. And I'm curious if some of the teams were like, because I watched the highlights again this morning, and it's just like there wasn't like a ton of super gritty competitive racing, and I'm not sure if it's just a really tough track, or like when they do have these back-to-back weeks, are they more or less a little more cautious, you know, because of the fuck ups? If there was to be a nasty crash or a big fix, you only have a week to really like tune up that car and dial it back in. I don't know. It was a thought that crossed my mind, but
I'm sure it's in the back of their mind for sure too. Like you're totally right. They have until Thursday or Friday, really Thursday probably, to like, if there was any major damages, to get those repaired. And you'd way rather spend the time maybe upgrading or just fine tuning things than fixing your old car. But as like a sport, I feel like they're probably just racing as hard as they can each weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah. What else? Who else had caught your eyes this weekend? I mean, we could probably go down the list here.
I mean, like I'm like still pretty impressed with Red Bull. They obviously didn't have the pace on the straights this weekend, and you could just see Max just struggling he would like just get in range, and then they would just pull on that pit straight like every time, and he was just never close enough to pass. So for them to like be able to undercut and get around Bottas, and then at the start of the race kind of show some pace and get into the mix of things, it was great. And Sergio finishing 4th, second best finish. So it was really nice to see even though it was more like a bit more of a boring race, it was clean. Red Bull got points, McLaren or Mercedes got points.
Yeah.
And that championship battle is just, it's still just like so tight. And like, I just hope that it stays like this
throughout the
entire
season.
time. Yeah, because it was Lewis, Max, Lewis, and now Lewis has 2, Max has 1.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
I agree. Red Bull and Max's start. I mean, he was able to get by
Hamilton
right away,
yeah.
which fired everybody up. I know the boys I was with, we had a good little
yeah. And then he makes that little mistake, and Hamilton just like is right there instantly. Yeah. So
and I think that's credit to Lewis. Like, he is a phenomenal clinical driver who doesn't make that many errors, and I was reading up on online, and Nico Rosberg piped in and said he thinks, he kind of like chuckled, I guess, on air, and he's like, I think Max is finally understanding how good Hamilton actually is, and if you make a mistake, he's going to be right there to capitalize on it.
Totally. No, it's crazy. It's just like, I was gutted when that happens, because you see him, the back car just slides out a little bit, and I was like, oh, he's done.
And with the mixture of like wind and like the subtle touch that makes that back end just lose grip, it's who knows, it could have been like the mixture of wind, and then the throttle at that exact moment just went over the edge,
for sure. No, exactly.
It's pretty cool seeing like their acceleration points there, and how important it is to come out of corners clean. I feel like a lot of drivers lose points on exits.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Other than that, there wasn't like a whole lot that really impressed me from the weekend.
Not too much. I really liked George Russell's qualifying. He had a really good qualifying, a really good Q2. He almost made it into Q3. Just missed out by, I think, like a couple tenths of a second or something like that. And then the Williams didn't necessarily have a great race.
Yeah.
Like, George didn't quite have the pace that he did have in qualifying on race day, which sucks.
No, not at all. He dropped pretty hard.
At one point, he was in dead last. For like a very brief period. I was like, damn. Because it was just wild, because his qualifying was so good. And then the car obviously just massively struggled.
Yeah. And speaking of like George and Williams, like, let's talk about our Canadians here. Nicholas Latifi didn't have a good race. He was actually lapped by George, like by his teammate Russell, which
was he actually?
Yeah, like he finished +2 laps, and Russell finished +1.
Crazy.
So that's not a good look, man. At all.
And even the Haas boys, I think Schumacher finished like a minute ahead of Mazepin.
Schumacher had a pretty good race.
Yeah, he did. He was like battling with Latifi a little bit.
He had one little overtake on Latifi.
Yeah. It's
it was nice.
Mazepin is just, who knows what's going on there. You see him cut off Sergio.
Dude, wild, man.
I think that guy is seeing things out on the track.
yeah. Hopefully he comes to grips with the car. It'd be sweet to see him do well, but he just might not be ready yet.
And to he needs to come to grips with like F1 as well. Like, I don't know how many we'll see the next handful of races, like what kind of happens if he's making those errors. Like, he's gonna have to it's almost like a danger being out there. Like what he did to Checo is like, that was it was dangerous, B, it was worth a penalty. I don't know, people are bashing him online.
I believe it. Easily could have ruined Checo's race.
100%.
It was close.
I don't feel bad for him at all, but it's anyway.
He didn't have his cause coming into the season with like all the allegations that he had and the video and things like that.
No, for sure.
No bueno. And then Lance Stroll, again, he didn't have a great race. He was like +1 laps to finish, just behind his teammate though. That also, it was just like a bad race for Aston Martin in general. Again, not scoring points, which it's tough for a new team. Like, you think they need to be competing for they need to be trying to compete with Alpine at least, and then Ferrari and ideally McLaren as well. But McLaren kind of looks like they're a step ahead in that third place battle at the moment.
Totally.
Danny Rick can just pull it together, and just if Danny Rick starts scoring points, like I think they're going to run away with it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like McLaren's like we were talking about that third spot we kind of thought was just going to be like up for grabs between like 5 teams, and it seems like there's like McLaren, Ferrari, and then there's like
that's really it.
Alpine is like kind of creeping up into the mix after like one good weekend. But it was sad to see Aston Martin not have a good weekend, especially after Vettel's like promising qualifying session. I kind of expected to see them both up there, but it was just too bad.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of like a tough track too. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It does seem very difficult, and that's probably why they hadn't really raced it for 20 some years until last year, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And who else? Man, it was tough to watch Sainz just drop positions like he did.
It really was.
In the last like stint of that race. Like I thought the Ferraris were, they were in a good starting position on medium tires. Like it seemed like they kind of had
they even started the race well too.
Exactly. And they did start the race well, but it seemed like in that, the last 30 laps of that race, last 20 laps, they were just, they weren't doing anything. And Charles, even on Norris, just couldn't do, he was right behind him. He only finished like 4 seconds behind him, but it felt like he was just 3-4 seconds behind him the entire race and just couldn't
he just couldn't find the pace to catch him.
Yeah. Which it would have been, I thought we were up for like a Sainz Leclerc battle, which would have been really, really cool to see. But it didn't happen. The good news is that they were only 4 seconds apart. So going into like the next handful of races, I think we're up for some good battles between those two guys.
Yeah. Totally. We've seen over the past 2, maybe 3 seasons that Leclerc will get the best out of his car. Like Ferrari was struggling a bit last season, and Charles pulled out some really good results with a subpar car in Ferrari standards, at least. And he's still doing that. Like he finished 6th place, which is solid points. It would have been nice for Sainz to kind of finish in that like 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of range to get some more Ferrari points to kind of keep that battle with McLaren really close. So, he's going into his home race, Carlos Sainz. Maybe he'll be a little extra fired up. Maybe we'll tune the car or something.
Yeah.
And we'll get a different result.
It's going to be fun to see these guys on Barcelona. Like this is where they put the most laps in year after year, because that's typically where like preseason is, right? So a lot of guys are like really comfortable on this track, especially the veterans. So I'm expecting Alonso to have a good qualifying, especially after like a promising, weekend and a good race result. Like he's going to be flying, and he is the king of Spain. Sainz is the prince, but the king is returning
for
home.
all the bettors out there, bet heavy on Fernando.
I think so. I think it's
no kidding.
I think it is a pretty good bet. And then also Adam, our brewmaster over at BNA, he was trying to ask me, he's like, who should I bet on? Cause he likes betting on sports.
Right.
And I was like, well, I want to say, I want to say like Lando, or I want to say Charles, or some of those guys. And you're going to get the best, like you're going to make the most money on them if you pick right. Cause you put like $100 down on Hamilton and you get like,
you win like $1.
Yeah, you win like $20 or something. You make 120.
Not even, it's crazy.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny, but those are the good bets.
Exactly.
You're most likely gonna win them. And what did you think about Verstappen losing that extra point to track limits? Like that was, they didn't really show it. I mean, we were watching on TSN, so they didn't really show it again.
I saw it this morning, and it's pretty clear. He loses it on track limits, but I feel like all weekend they were pretty strict on track limits. Like even in practice, like I think it was each session there was like 20 to 30 laps in total that were deleted because of track limits. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like when you're going that fast and like you leave the track limits by like half a foot, it's like, there's no way that's, I mean, it might make a huge difference and he might not get that fastest lap, but it did. I don't know. They're just sticking to the rules that they had in place for the weekend. So
totally, as long as it's consistent, I think that's all anybody can really ask for.
Yeah.
Max didn't really think it was that consistent just based off of like the initial, because he found out, he's like getting interviewed right after the race. And then he like brought up, he's like, we went out for like fastest lap. And so it's nice to get that extra point. And then the guy's like, he's like, it actually got deleted for track limits. And he's like, he's like, really?
He's pretty caught off guard for sure.
Yeah. You'd think they would have told him. I mean, it all happened. It kind of happened after the race, I guess. So,
yeah.
But if I'm Horner, I'm like getting somebody to run. I'm like, buddy, go sprint, go tell Max that he didn't get, just so he's not like caught off guard like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a good test for them. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? It was a good lap. I mean, just a small mistake and 1 point, but who knows? And like at the end of the season, 20 races from now, that 1 point could make a difference.
Dude, you never know. Like it could.
I would hope.
Right? Fuck, it's gonna be wild, man. I really am looking forward to seeing these standings in like 6 weeks time, or six race weekends time. It's gonna be nuts.
It's the most points Red Bull has gone into the fourth round with since 2011.
Sick.
Yeah.
And that was, didn't they win a championship in 11 or?
I think they did. Yeah. They would have, I think Sebastian Vettel would have won a championship with them in 2011.
Yeah. Cause they were going on some runs.
Yeah. I think 2011 or 2012 would have been the last year that a non-Mercedes team won it.
Yeah. So where are we as it stands? As it stands, it's a 8-point gap between Verstappen and Hamilton. So
that's nothing.
It's nice to see, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing my little dances for a little Lewis spin out next week.
You know, there's a little bit of rain, not even rain, just a little spin out.
Dude, and man, I just hope Lando can take this battle to Valtteri, because that'll be
awesome.
Oh man, it'd be awesome. And I mean, hey, Charles is right there, 4 points behind Bottas, and then Bottas is like 4 points behind, 5 points behind Norris. So
yeah,
it should be close. And then we're going to kind of probably expect to see Checo start getting up there with some results as he's getting more and more used to the car.
Yeah. I had a great race.
Yeah. Like Mitch said at the start, like he managed those tires insanely well. At the end of the day, it didn't really do anything because he still finished, behind the guys he was racing against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
I mean, finishing fourth is obviously, driving a Red Bull, you're kind of gunning for a podium every race, but at the same time, it's not going to work out for you every race, because you have 3 other cars that you're competing against as your main competition that are all really, really fast.
Yeah.
So finishing fourth is a good result for him, especially getting used to the Red Bull car and the track conditions. Like, I know Max Verstappen is kind of like, not necessarily like complaining, but was very like vocal on his team radio about like the wind and how slippery the track was. So when you like factor all those things together, like the track conditions and then Perez driving like a brand new car, I don't know, fourth is a great result for him in the third race.
Yeah. Now he's got to get some podiums. He's got to get those bigger points and get a couple wins under his belt. And that's what kind of Red Bull's expecting of him. That's why they brought him there, is like to get some race wins.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And they want to take that Constructors Championship. And I think Bottas obviously is not confident, like super, super confident. Otherwise he would be, I mean, he's been on the podiums. I think, what did I read? This trio of Hamilton, Verstappen, and Valtteri are like, they've been on the podium the most out of any trio.
I believe it.
Like together.
Yeah. Like last year, I feel like every podium was Lewis, Max, Valtteri.
Yeah.
Lewis, Max, Valtteri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But I mean, the thing with Bottas is that you want race wins. And that's what, like, after 3-4 seasons being his teammate, being Lewis's teammate, it's like, you want to beat him. And he's just, unfortunately, he's not even coming close to doing that yet.
Yeah. Well, let's see those seats get shaken up next year, hopefully.
I agree. So what do you guys think about giving a couple predictions for the Spanish GP coming up? I mean, it's only like, by the time this video comes out, it's going to be, 2 days
practice,
away.
Yeah.
It'll be like practice. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if we have a driver winner and maybe like a driver of the day or something along those lines, and what team is going to get the best result? What do you guys think?
It's tough to like, I feel like with Formula One more than any other sport, it's just like, it's tough to like pick an underdog confidently for the race.
Absolutely.
So for I'm gonna go team. I'll go McLaren. I think Ricardo's gonna bounce back and have a good weekend, and they'll have like an overall good weekend. It'd be sweet to see both the drivers in the top 5.
Comeback weekend.
Yeah, comeback weekend for sure. For Daniel specifically, overall driver, I would love to see Max win. I think like if him and Lewis could just trade wins back and forth throughout the season, it'd be great. So I'm gonna go Max for winning, and McLaren to bounce back and have an overall solid team weekend.
I feel like without Max winning, like if any other driver besides Max wins, it just ruins this championship battle,
I know, it's like we need Max to win, guys. Come on.
Exactly. Unless Lewis like has something that like causes him to finish like a P6 or 7. Like it's crazy that Lewis finishing below a podium is like, so it just doesn't happen.
It's so rare. It like rarely ever happens.
It blows my mind.
What do you guys think for the weekend? You picking?
Mitch, what do you got?
Jordo, you go ahead.
Oh yeah. I think that I do want to say that the Spanish King, Alonso, is going to come out flying. I feel like he's going to get into Q1. He's going to have like a 8th place, 7th place qualifying. And I think he's going to have a really good first lap that gains him a couple spots. And I feel like if you're in that top 5 mix over 60, 70 laps, like anything can happen,
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going for Alonso as like my driver of the day, kind of that kind of thing. And I think he's going to have a top 5 finish. It's just the story that I want to see it.
It's like, it's going to happen.
Exactly. I'm just putting that into the universe.
Yeah.
And battling with signs, like getting it, being like, I am decapitated still.
The 2 Spaniards.
Yeah. And I do think Verstappen is going to take the race win, and I don't even think Lewis is going to get a podium. I think Lewis is going to finish P5, P4. I think there's going to be a battle with Verstappen that is going to cause Hamilton to either spin out, go off track, lose some positions, and finish a little farther back than he typically likes.
We love drama, so I would love to see it.
Yeah, I like that.
And the Ferraris, they're going to do well. The Ferraris are going to do well.
Yeah, you're right on with that one. I think the Ferraris will do well. I think they're going to bounce back. I think they'll both get some valuable points, kind of like in that higher, almost top 5 range, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think Charles Leclerc will be driver of the day. I think he's due for a really good race. He doesn't often not compete with those top 5 drivers. He's always in the mix.
It's true.
Do you think he podiums?
I'm going to call a Charles podium.
3rd? Let's be real, Mitch. 3rd,
yeah,
probably. Yeah,
probably 3rd, unless hey man, something crazy.
Yeah, who knows? No, you're true.
Lewis, I'm going to go with Lewis spinning out.
Yeah,
I think I might put a little money on this one.
I got the odds up right in front of me, man.
Yeah, we should start like some sort of group, like Monarch Sports betting.
It'd be
just like a group of like 20 people who are putting some bets in.
Yeah, it'd be funny.
Maybe down.
I'm excited for the next weekend, man. It's like we don't have a week off. We're going to be doing this already again soon.
I know, that's unreal.
That's awesome.
And I think that we should do it. I really liked what you said about just doing it, even when there's 2 weeks off or whatever, just doing something once a week and just kind of, there's so much to talk about always,
For sure. Yeah, there always is.
Yeah. And even if we dabble into a few other things, that would be, I think the people would like that.
Yeah. I saw that 2-goal game by Cristiano Ronaldo this morning.
Dude, the guy, that's the thing with him, man, is like he is gonna single-handedly keep them in a Champions League position. You know, like
it's wild.
He's just that player that does that. He expects it, and he like the last 10 minutes of the game he puts back 2.
Yeah, it was less. It was like 7 minutes, I think. He scored in the 83rd minute and then the 89th or something like that.
They were saying, like, the announcer was like, he is saving Pirlo from an exit. Like, it's true. If they don't make Champions League, I think Pirlo is sacked, man. How do you not?
Yeah, these managers have a very short leash with the top clubs in Europe, so there's a good chance.
Yeah, it's not.
But yeah, Ronaldo's having a great season despite the team struggling. He's got 27 goals just in league play, which leads Serie A. So we'll see if he can break 30 by the end of the season. There's a few games left.
And another thing I saw is that he has 99 goals with Juve, and he will be the only player to have scored over 100 goals on 3 different teams.
Oh.
Once he breaks that record, which he's breaking, because there's no way that guy's not scoring a fucking goal in the next like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, man. I've probably seen like maybe 10 of his goals in my lifetime too.
Dude, we'll put together
I got 290 to watch. Jeez.
Oh, dude, you got so many goals to watch. He's over 1,000 goals, isn't he?
Oh, geez, man.
Fucking silly.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's wild.
It's silly. All right. Well,
we could do a whole episode on that guy.
I know. I thought I would just toss it in there, get you boys excited.
Get it spicy, especially with Euro coming up. I'm starting to see a lot more ads for Euro because it's in a month. 1 month from now, I think it's June 5th.
Man, I'm fired up for that.
Dude, it's going to be games every day. I am so pumped. And like being where we are, it's like we're going to get a 6 a.m. game, a 9 a.m. game, and a 12 and a noon game. Like, it's perfect.
Damn, that's crazy.
You can watch like all 3 group stage games if you really wanted to.
We're going to have to start watching. You got to start watching the AFL, man. Aussie Rural Football League.
Yeah. Dude, how was that game you went to like a few weeks ago?
It was really good. I totally lucked out that it ended up being like a really close game.
Yeah.
And the Sydney Swans are like an older team here, and I don't think they've been like the greatest in recent years, but they're having a good season. And it came down to like the last few minutes. They won just by like, I think like 2 or 3 points that weekend. So it was awesome.
Sick.
Love it. And it was a full house, eh?
75% capacity. Yeah. There was like 28,000 people there.
How did that feel?
It was weird.
Was it? Yeah.
Like, yeah. At first I was just like, man, I haven't seen this many, like walking into the stadium. I was like, haven't seen this many people in like one space in over like a year and a half.
Totally. That's wild.
Yeah. It was a little overwhelming, but it was fun.
Soon. We're gonna be back there soon. And it's gonna be so cool when you can go to the F1, the Australian GP.
Fingers crossed. You guys sign up for your tickets.
Here, I'm gonna do it right now because I haven't yet.
We need as many emails in there. If you're watching this, put your email in for some Australian Grand Prix tickets, please.
We're sending him to the Grand Prix. Oh, dude, it's so beautiful. Melbourne. I love that track. I really do.
Yeah, it's nice.
How do I do it? Did I just go to F1 tickets?
Yeah, and then you just put your email. I think it's like show interest or something like that. You just put your email in and they just put you on a waiting list. Right.
Okay, I'm going to do that for you. We're all going to do it for you.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we appreciate you. We appreciate you listening to the conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook. Hit those notification bells, and you will be in the loop the next time an episode goes live.
Tell your friends.
And we will see you after Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.